Hello everyone, I warmly invite you to join us for a comprehensive review of the giant Propel Advanced Pro Zero SL. In these beautiful natural surroundings, what you see behind me is the Sudetes Mountains panorama, stretching from Świeradów to Śnieżka. I warmly welcome you. Kamil was responsible for testing the bicycle. Due to the fact that this bike is much too large for me, yet still a bit too small for my cyclist Kamil, he took charge of the testing. Kamil, how'd you rate this bike? How was the ride and the stiffness? What was the riding experience like? The wheels, the cockpit, what can you tell us?
Hello there. So as Bartek just mentioned, the bicycle was indeed a bit too small for me. However, it wasn't a significant difference, so I was calmly able to put it through its paces. The very first thing that truly grabbed my attention was how incredibly stiff this bicycle is, yet surprisingly it doesn't compromise on comfort at all. Even so, the riding experience is truly enjoyable. You don't feel any bumps anywhere. This bicycle also absorbs shocks really well. Regarding the wheels, it's quite evident they are truly high-end wheels. They handle well in a crosswind. You also feel a bit of a sailing effect. However, with that crosswind, you can really feel it gives us a bit of a boost forward.
Those are 50s.
Yes.
On carbon spokes.
This is a 50, so these wheels are probably the most versatile you can possibly get.
How do you rate the cockpit?
The cockpit is very comfortable. You can rest your hands here easily. It's 37 centimeters, so that width is also a little too narrow for me. However, it's very close to that ideal size, and it's also truly easy to get into an incredibly fantastic aero position on this bicycle.
I really like that cockpit too. And you also had the chance to ride the new SRAM Force Access. What are your impressions of the new SRAM?
It was a bit of a jump for me because I usually ride Shimano, the Ultegra Di2. However, I find the gearing progression on the SRAM to be much more fitting here. Mathematically, I believe it's significantly better thought out. Regarding the group set's overall function, I was particularly impressed with the brake performance. That it's actually possible to brake smoothly here with just 1 or 2 fingers. It works flawlessly. With these rotors, the front derailleur also runs very smoothly, very well. There were absolutely no issues with it at all. Additionally, the gear shifting system here is remarkably intuitive. Regarding SRAM, it differs from Shimano in that you only have one button on each individual lever. On one side, you drop to the lowest gear, and on the other, you go to a higher one at the front. If you want to change the front gearing, you press both at once and it works flawlessly.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Kamil, for your time, for testing the bike, and for an interesting fact. We have mountains behind us, and for many years, Kamil was a professional downhill skier. I believe this season you were still 7th in the junior category for downhill skiing, right? In Poland.
That's right, yes, that's correct. Well, the days of my greatest successes are behind me. Those were earlier career years, but there's always something to be happy about.
Okay, and the confidence on descents has remained?
Yes, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, thanks a lot, Kamil. Okay, I had the chance to ride this bicycle. Well, this is an M size. This bike is too big for me, and I'd have to do some magic with cutting the seat post and all that. I had the chance to ride these bikes in Nice. And I can confidently tell you that. Just a few words about this bicycle. It features a construction typical of the Giant Corporation. Giant has this certain something, this quality where perhaps they aren't some kind of innovator producing breakthrough creations, but what they do create and what they focus on is based on vast experience, and they're brilliant. When it comes to carbon fiber, that's something you can genuinely observe in the actual weight of his bikes. It's truly noticeable. However, Giant truly excels at giving carbon fiber specific functions and unique characteristics. But how did they do it with this bicycle? The Advanced SL and Advanced Pro Zero models showed in tests displayed incredible stiffness in the bottom bracket shell. And the head tube. These two components in particular should be remarkably stiff on any bike. On such an ideal bike, they're crucial because they are truly responsible for giving the bike that responsive pedal stroke and very precise handling in corners and on descents. And these two key elements on the Giant are incredibly stiff. However, the vertical compliance of the seat post, which is precisely what Camille talked about, the bike's exceptional ability to damp vibrations during the ride, is also one of the absolute best in the entire industry. So Giant as a company was able to successfully combine two seemingly contradictory aspects. Often when a manufacturer makes a super stiff bottom bracket and head tube, they also make the seat post area stiff, and the riding experience on such a bike is that after an hour and a half you've had enough. Even if the bike is well fitted, not too long, and the saddle is set right, your back still suffers. And that really makes for a very unpleasant experience when you're riding. However, Giant, as a brand, did not encounter these kinds of problems with their design. Perhaps a slight shortcoming could be considered the aerodynamic drag values that this particular bike achieved. This still presents an area for further development for Giant, but I tend to think that with major companies such as Apple, Giant, or Microsoft, the product development roadmap for several years ahead is already quite established. Therefore, it's highly probable that they will surprise us once more in the upcoming iteration. This isn't to say that the bike's aerodynamic performance is somehow poor. However, I did anticipate that they could have managed to shave off another watt or two. However, this system here is also a complete system. This bike is indeed a full system. As I mentioned, for the price you pay for the Advanced Pro Zero version, you receive a bicycle where absolutely nothing needs to be changed and every single component is of truly exceptional quality. What do I mean? I'm referring to the integrated cockpit, for instance, which looks fantastic. It's super comfortable in your hands, in every grip position on the handlebars. Everything about it also looks really, really good. It's so delicate and refined. In terms of its texture and overall feel, it bears a slight resemblance to the super exclusive cockpit found on a Pinarello. What's next? The wheels. These are the highest model of wheels available from Giant, apart from their Cadex range. Then there are the aero spokes and the DBL system, which always makes me wonder how it truly functions. Other brands make great wheels, yet there's something special about these. I'm not saying they're superior, but they are truly stable. When it comes to the riding sensation, I simply feel good riding on wheels with this system. The package includes Cadex tires, which, in my opinion, are perfectly acceptable. They've truly evolved significantly, now offering a genuinely decent performance as tires. However, even with that in mind, I'd still opt for something wider here, considering their current specifications. This is likely a 28mm tire, and from my vantage point, it appears to be a true-to-size tire. This means that it genuinely measures exactly 28mm. It features aerodynamic cuts, perhaps slightly inspired by the Aero 111 tire. These tires now offer a pretty decent, genuinely good ride. And well, this is yet another integral component of the entire system that Giant graciously provides to us. Of course, with Giant, the saddles they offer are quite good. While there's no such thing as a truly universal saddle, many people will find that the standard model provided here is a good initial fit for them. Additionally, it features an aerodynamic D-shaped seat post, which is another notable element, and a high-quality group set. SRA M-Force. I'm looking, and it's the version with a power meter. So a very accurate power meter as well. This truly means you're receiving a complete package. Who is this bike for? In my opinion, the Giant Propel isn't really suited for someone taking casual weekend rides of about 150 kilometers with friends, maintaining an average speed of 26. It's for people like Camille, like my riders from road racing, like guys and girls from all over Poland. Although girls might prefer live, but for all those cyclists across Poland who love to hit a group ride on Sunday mornings and really race with the pack. To race with a group, maintaining an average speed of about 35 or a bit more, or even for individuals who simply enjoy dynamic riding and seek a bike that brings genuine joy to their experience. Does it matter what kind of bike you ride fast on? Well, yes, it does. I once owned a BMC road machine, which was an endurance bike, and that was a really super sensible choice for me. But then, when I began receiving bikes for testing, such as the Giant TCR or the Specialized Tarmac, I remember thinking, man, there's definitely still plenty of time for an endurance bike. You have to get a sporty bike, because that's where the real riding pleasure comes from, the acceleration and that kind of thing. And that's the Propel. Its acceleration is exceptionally responsive. I distinctly remember riding this very bike uphill in Nice, and the sheer efficiency of each and every pedal stroke was truly quite impressive. And the Giant Propel is truly excellent at delivering on that front. I've actually been observing Giant for a good many years now, even prior to launching my YouTube channel, since my initial contact with cycling was with equipment, for instance. I don't know. For a change with Shimano, that was back in 1994, and even before that, I didn't like Giant's colors. However, the paint job on this particular bicycle is very tasteful, and it has these cool stripes. You will see them in the B-Roll Wukash edited. This bike boasts a glitter finish that's truly well painted and aesthetically pleasing, yet it remains quite conservative. Not everyone appreciates flashy bikes, and this one certainly isn't in the least bit flashy. So concerning the visual aspect, Giant has also made some significant advancements in that department. I'll also say a word about the bottle cages. They are not interchangeable. What I mean is, you can certainly attach any bottle cage here, but the point is, this particular one shouldn't be affixed right here. This base's width is specifically designed to match that of this tube, thus enhancing the overall aerodynamic efficiency of the entire structure. Also, compared to the final version of the previous model, the chainstays have been significantly lowered. They are now positioned lower than they used to be. And we also have a redesigned fork here, which has a beautiful aerodynamic shape. These bikes have frame wraps. I once asked Paolo from Giant if Giant had started wrapping their bikes. No, these are how Giant Poland's test bikes are prepared. They really do look after what they have in their fleet, including these frame wraps that you can see here. If anyone notices it in a B-roll shot, don't ask in the shop if the bike will come wrapped like this. It probably can be, but this serves the purpose of making sure the bike simply survives these tests and looks significantly better afterwards. This press-fit bottom bracket system is a tremendous benefit for this particular bike. This is the essence of that powerful kick, that juicy acceleration this bike delivers, and that's exactly it. That's also why in my bike selection service, when it comes to choosing an aero bike or a sports bike in general for a client, I often mention the Propel, because I'm sure that if I get the size perfectly right for the client, they'll be happy and get exactly what they were looking for. Giant continues to maintain a rather respectable. They're not the cheapest bikes, of course, but on the other hand, with this quality, why should they be? But they have a pretty decent quality to price ratio. Also, I'll briefly remind you of what slightly bothered me here. I was hoping for more. I'm talking about the aerodynamics, that they'd managed to squeeze a bit more out of this model, achieving that 1 or 2 watts more in the tour tests. However, unfortunately didn't materialize. It remains quite decent. It's still in line with the market average for all-rounders, but it absolutely holds its own in that regard. Giant isn't really positioning itself to compete directly with those extremely aerodynamic bikes that are simply just truly a kilogram heavier. No, Giant is definitely not heading in that particular direction. This is more about moving towards a bicycle that, I would say, genuinely fulfills all the expectations of racing cyclists, particularly those specific expectations concerning its weight. In my personal assessment, that weight truly holds significant importance when one is already quite lightweight, when you're already at that limit. But I always tell my bike selection clients and folks I chat with about bikes that a lighter bicycle handles a bit differently, it accelerates distinctively, and the riding experience itself is unique. That's because this exceptional lightness stems from a high-quality carbon weave and premium carbon, specifically the advanced grade carbon that forms the very frame of this bike. The frame is made of advanced grade carbon, which offers very high capabilities. The TCR frame made from this carbon weighs 800 grams. Now, for some competing companies, not all of them, I'm just saying some, this is considered a very high-end frame model already. And with this particular bike, we also get an advanced SL carbon fork because it's the Pro version. And so, in summary, for racing cyclists, those who participate in group rides, and individuals who appreciate dynamic cycling will be able to pick this bike. Also remember that Giant doesn't have an extremely long handlebar reach, so the riding position on this particular bike isn't super aggressive. It's smartly designed. That's also quite important. Riding here, I wanted to mention this in the review because it's a topic that's less frequently discussed when it comes to this bike. This tube here is practically horizontal. We must keep in mind that if one has relatively shorter legs, the amount of exposed seat post will be quite minimal with this particular type of design. In my size, it's a 500mm seat tube, but for bikes I usually buy, I aim for around 46-47 centimeters. 3-4 centimeters of seat post exposure. For me, that's a lot. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at or thinking about getting a Propel. The TCR's geometry is different in this aspect. The seat tube is. It's shorter. I also wanted to quickly share that with you all. There's also a cool mount provided by Giant which lets you hang a GoPro or a DJI camera underneath and clip your Garmin on top, or whatever little device you have. So to sum it up, I also truly appreciate this road bike for its overall appearance. And finally, you absolutely must hear something that truly makes an impression. That sound. When Camille was riding here, I could hear it from a distance. I'm talking about how the free hub sounds. Not bad, huh? It's really impressive. Okay, that's all from me regarding these beautiful surroundings, just as you see here. Świerado's there, Szklarska Poręba behind, Śnieżka on the left. So you have the chance. This is a new road in Radomys. We're in the Bobber Valley, a wonderful place for a road bike. There are a few climbs here with about 200 meters of vertical gain, taking around 15 minutes depending on one's leg strength. It's wonderful here, lots of narrow roads. This is actually a new road, built more as an agricultural transport road. But of course it was immediately noticed by cyclists, and that's why we came here. All the best everyone, remember to subscribe to this video. See you later, bye.